Hello, this is Craig Urquhart, and welcome to Berlin Conversations. Today, as my guest, I have the American conductor, Garrett Keast. He's a wonderful musician and also a very good friend. So, Garrett, why are you in Berlin?
Well, thank you very much, Craig. It's great to be here in your beautiful salon you have here. A beautiful, amazing place.
Oh, well, thank you.
What you have to know about myself and Craig is that we go way back. So he really helped me come to Berlin. So he helped us come to Berlin, my family. So,
well, you built your family here.
Yeah, our two boys were born here, and my first position in Germany was here, and it's just been incredible. I mean, it's really been great with your help to find a way to be based in Europe, coming from New York. And a big change and fantastic.
Do you find the musical scene in Europe more dynamic? Is there more music being made in Europe?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm always talking to young conductors and singers and soloists and such from the States and from other places. And the way I always describe it is I think there's more orchestras in Germany than all of the United States.
Incredible, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, and of course, in this amazing city, there's 3 full-time big opera houses.
Right.
And it just doesn't exist anything like that stateside.
And at least 5 or 6 really good orchestras.
Yeah, in the city.
Yeah, in the city.
In the city. And in this country, there's so many great orchestras, and it's very much on par with the States with the top orchestras. I think there must be 20 really good orchestras in Germany and 10 to 12 elite ones, really elite orchestras. So it's a really fantastic and interesting place to live. And
that's just Germany, which is
the size of Germany.
And that's just the size of Montana.
That's right, the size of Montana.
Right. And then
where you can also drive really quickly on the freeways.
Yeah.
I remember in Montana you can go over 90 per hour legally.
Right, except at night.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because of the animals, I know, because I love Montana. But then also the other European countries. I mean, look at Scandinavia, where you've worked quite a bit lately, and you have these great orchestras up there, and you've been working in Helsinki and in Copenhagen,
right?
And have you done Aarhus?
Aarhus, Aalborg. Yeah, there's a lot of really good orchestras in Scandinavia and Denmark, and it's just a very different scene, I think, because for me as a conductor and an American conductor that comes from the background of orchestras needing stateside, North American orchestras really needing lots of private support and needing support from a music director or from a conductor or from the staff of an orchestra, the executive director, the board of directors to really fund that orchestra. It's so different here because most of the orchestras are almost fully state supported.
That's in Germany.
And also in Scandinavia.
Right.
Yeah.
And you've also worked in France.
Right.
Right. And Portugal.
In Portugal, yeah. I mean, and I just came back from Chile, which was amazing. I'm still jet lagged, but thank you for the coffee.
You're welcome. Chile. Wow. That's amazing. Yeah.
Chile is amazing. I was conducting a concert just 4 or 5 days ago in Valparaiso, which is on the coast of the Pacific coast, just an hour and a half outside of Santiago. And that's kind of what you mentioned when I first came over is you feel like you're on the edge of the world there. You really do. You feel like, wow, when you look at the map, you just can't believe where you are. There's nothing to your left, to the west, all the way until New Zealand, which is...
That's insane.
5,000 kilometers or something,
And the summer you worked at the Pacific Music Festival, which was founded by Leonard Bernstein.
Yeah, and you perhaps, yeah.
Yeah, well, I was there at the founding.
You were there in 1990?
It was 1990, yeah.
Yeah, it was amazing summer there.
Yeah.
It was amazing. I was there for almost 3 weeks, and it's a great festival. What was most amazing this summer, being there after being a student in Aspen Music Festival and Tanglewood when I was coming up, was just seeing in Japan there this international festival. The students, very much like Tanglewood or Aspen, these students from around the world, or like Schleswig-Holstein, these students from around the world really coming together and making music and becoming a community was really interesting. They had a real community. It's a big, beautiful hall in Sapporo, big backstage facilities.
It's an incredible concert hall, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's one of my favorites.
Oh, yeah, it's a fantastic place. And what was so interesting was backstage, there's a lot of space, and those kids back there, all these 20-somethings, great young musicians, I could just see them. They're really coalescing and talking and becoming friends and figuring out how to play Mahler 8 or how to play Shostakovich 4 and going for it, really going for it.
And they're from all over the world.
From all over the world, and top musicians, and they just had a great collective spirit and really were in it together. It was a very special festival.
Yeah, it's always good to work with youth orchestras, isn't it?
Yeah, of course.
Because
absolutely.
of the energy. And
yeah.
I know that Bernstein made a point of every year working with a youth orchestra, mostly at Tanglewood.
Right.
But it energized him as a conductor.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I want to do more of it, actually. I get to do it usually once or maybe twice a season, but I'd like to do it a little bit more. I'd like to be involved, in festivals a little bit more in the summer. Or even what I really enjoyed too was 4 years ago, the first time I went to the National Symphony Orchestra in Chile was I was asked to do a master class, to lead a master class with 10 young international conductors, and I really got a kick out of that and had a lot of fun teaching them right there on the podium, giving them ideas and not interrupting too much, but letting them work, but get into a flow, but giving them suggestions and ideas and feedback and in a supportive way, and it was really cool. And so that's one thing that's been fun, because I have 3 or 4 students from that time that still call me quite often to ask for.
That's super, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I remember going up to Hamburg to the Elba Philharmonie, and you were conducting a youth orchestra there too, weren't you?
Right. The NDR Jugendsymphony-Orchester.
It's a major youth symphony orchestra.
Yeah, it's a great one. They're also fantastic from all over Germany, and of course there's several students from within Europe and such. Mm-hmm.
But it was a great program. You did a Tchaikovsky symphony and a piece by Benjamin Britten.
We did the 4 C interludes of Benjamin Britten.
Fabulous work.
I love that piece. Peter Grimes, Peter Grimes opera, and the Bernstein Candide Overture to start, which is always just super fun and glittery
and virtuosic for the orchestra.
And virtuosic, and tricky. I'm doing it this weekend in Hamburg again with the ballet there.
Wonderful.
And we do it 3 times in that ballet, and the short version and twice, and the long version once, and it's tricky for the orchestra. The orchestra has to be careful. I always remember the first violins you have to work really hard to get the first violins in on time.
Mm-hmm. And then you did a Tchaikovsky 4th Symphony with the kids?
Yeah, the Tchaikovsky 4, right?
Yeah, right. Those are incredible works to be doing with students.
It was they're impressive. They're great students.
So, where did you make your debut in Europe?
Well, he knows the answer. He knows the answer. He helped me so much, but I was an assistant of Christoph Eschenbach for a big project.
And Christoph, you would consider really your mentor.
Yeah, he is my mentor.
And we're very fortunate now to have him here in Berlin at the Concerthaus.
Right,
so
absolutely.
we get to hear him and see him much more often. Isn't that wonderful?
It's great. I can't believe it. It's when he was named to that position, a couple years ago, he told me about it, and I thought to myself, that's just unbelievable, because I grew up in Houston, Texas, where he was the music director of the Houston Symphony for 11 years. And
that's where you first had contact with him.
That's where I first met him.
You started studying with him.
And I started studying there with him, and was in his rehearsals, almost every rehearsal for the last 3 years of his tenure there. And I learned so much from him, and from being in that place. And the orchestra just had amazing synergy with him. And it was a very, very successful time, and a lot of recordings and tours. And
right, he really put Houston in the top 5 in the United States.
Yeah, it was an amazing time. So, so I met him then, and then you were so helpful to reintroduce me to him, and some years later in New York, and then he took me as an assistant at the Paris Opera, and later NDR and Vienna Staatsoper, and it was really that. With you and him helped introduce me and bring me into Europe, which was so important for my career.
But the Paris Opera was...
The Paris Opera was so cool, because then I remember they asked you, well, maybe Garrett would consider coming back to assist Alain Lombard with Faust, with Gounod's Faust. And so we decided to do that the next season, and I came back, and there was 3 performances that they asked me to conduct, and that was just my debut in Paris and also my operatic debut in Europe, and it was thrilling and successful and exciting. So it kind of got me off to the right foot, you know. And he was there. You know,
it was exciting, and I remember the singers when we went to the cafe across the street from the Bastille, and you walked in, and they all stood up and clapped, and they were so supportive of you too.
Right.
And it was a really exciting time. Yeah.
It was amazing. I remember you were sitting beside my wife Megan.
Yeah.
Out there after we just got married that summer, and then what I remember that was most amazing is that Roberto Alagna was singing the lead role, of course, and he as soon as the curtains closed backstage, he saw Megan and you, I believe, with Elizabeth Pezzino on one corner, and instead of coming to me to shake my hand or something afterwards and congratulate me and for me to congratulate him, he went straight to Megan, got down on his knees and kissed her hands. Because I think he was just, wow, this American guy from New York can conduct Faust. Who knew, you know?
No, it was a fun evening. It was wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah, so do you find orchestras in different countries different to work with, and do you prepare them differently? Or when you prepare an orchestra, do you have a specific routine that you do, or to share your process a little bit? But
sure.
Our orchestras, do they have different sounds and different flavors, or has it just become so international that there's just an international sound now?
Right. That's a good question. I think that there are still orchestras that have something that's different and special that's not the international sound. Mm-hmm. But the international sound can be fantastic and they can be great. And probably most of the top orchestras in the world have that kind of international sound, kind of, which is very sophisticated and very, very, very sophisticated and very excellent and transparent, and lots of great qualities from that style of playing. But there are some orchestras, for instance, and here in Berlin, I always think of the Staatskapelle. I think this orchestra really has this golden, wooden German sound that you hear like in Bayreuth in the summer, or also even the Concerthaus Orchestra has this wooden, golden color they give from the strings. This kind of, I think of it in old school kind of playing, and it's really German, and maybe the Munich Philharmonic has that.
And Vienna has its own sound.
Vienna has this incredible other sound. Yeah. And
the Berlin Philharmonic has its sound too,
right.
Which is, I don't know how to describe it, but
well, maybe it's also, I think it's the international sound somehow in the Berlin Philharmonic, but they're so strong, and the whole orchestra is full of soloists.
Right. So it's incredible.
Incredible. There's actually I just found out the other day, there's a Chilean violinist in the orchestra who's from Santiago, and he has lots of friends in the orchestra I was conducting last week.
Oh, well, that's wonderful.
Small world.
You'll have to get together with him.
Yeah, right.
Or her.
Yeah, and the concertmaster in Chile, in the National Symphony Orchestra in Chile, I heard just here 4 or 5 weeks ago playing in one of their opening concerts, just in the section he was subbing.
That's cool. That's
wonderful.
It's
cool. They can do such things.
So about preparing an orchestra for a performance, what is your rehearsal kind of procedure, technique? Yeah. I'm sure it's different with every orchestra too, right?
It is, but I think one of the things I try to do usually is I like to play through the piece in the beginning. I like to just play through the piece, maybe not stop at all, or just stop a couple times to just clarify some transition. But I always find it really good for the orchestra to play through the whole piece and then come back and start working on the hardest sections, most difficult sections first, and just kind of getting some difficult things out of the way the first day in the first rehearsal, so people feel like, they can feel confident and know what's coming up. And the other thing I always think about for concerts is preparing the concerto properly, because I always felt growing up around symphony orchestras myself that it can be that the concerto can fall through the cracks a bit, and not be to the same level as the big symphony,
right,
or whatever new piece
they
you're doing.
feel are just accompanying the soloists, right?
Yeah.
When there's such great orchestral music behind it in these concertos.
Right.
You just did a Rachmaninoff.
We just did the second Rachmaninoff last week, and that's the same thing. I just to me, it's just I really want to focus on making sure the concerto is up to snuff. It's got to be really excellent as well. So every orchestra is different. I think they have different qualities or different strengths and different weaknesses. But I think the most important thing is to have a good little. I just notice at breakfast before rehearsal, I'm in the hotel. I'm usually just thinking about, okay, I'm going to I already have a plan of what piece is going to be first and next and third. That's usually organized weeks in advance. Mm-hmm. But then secondarily, I always think, okay, maybe this, for instance, last week we did 1812 Overture as a big finale to the concert. And
God, that's a lot of fun.
Woo! It was exciting. It was amazing. And but the opening of it starts with this beautiful chorale and hymn in the cellos and the violas. And it's a minute and a half long, and it's a little bit tricky for them and to play, and so I just thought of let's make sure we, at the end of the first half of the rehearsal, dismiss the orchestra. Most of the orchestra can have a little 10-minute longer break and work with them for 10 to 12 minutes alone, so we have some time without the whole orchestra sitting there. Yeah, so it's just lots of little things like that which make things run smoothly and also make them feel, the cellists and the violas feel that, we had some time to really sink our teeth into this and not feel stressed about it.
That's all really interesting. And you do everything from opera, you do orchestral music, you even do sometimes chamber ensembles.
Sure.
And you've done some ballet. You've worked with,
of course,
the Hamburg Ballet, which is a special company, and they do incredibly interesting repertoire.
Right.
And I think you got your start there by stepping in and conducting the Mahler 10th.
That's right. Oh, yeah. And
that took some guts.
Yeah, you changed the word to guts. It's good. But yeah, it was, that was, I can't remember. Were you there?
No, I wasn't.
You weren't able to be
quickly,
there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it was a mistake. They had a problem in the scheduling somehow, and their conductor could not be there for the final performance of Mahler's 10th Symphony, which is Purgatorio. Purgatorio was the name of the ballet by John Neumeier, and I, it was amazing because we had this opportunity to introduce me to the company, and they'd been looking for an opportunity, and he introduced me to Ulrike Schmidt there. It was a great experience, yeah, they needed somebody to conduct this last performance. It was 8 Alma Mahler songs in the first half with a soprano.
Right.
And then the complete hour-and-a-half long version, a Derek Cook version of Mahler's 10th Symphony for the second half. And anyway, I had never been in the house before. I had never conducted the orchestra in rehearsal or performance. And that's a real Germany repertoire house type of mission. The idea that you just have to jump in and conduct a big performance with no rehearsal, sight unseen, and that was the start. And so,
well, it was obviously a very successful start because they love you up in Hamburg.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. I'm really lucky. It was.
So, and then you're doing Bernstein Dances right now with them, which is a great ballet. I helped develop that piece with the company 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And then the first half is various music put together from Bernstein's repertoire. And then the second half is his Serenade, which is an incredible violin concerto for all purposes. And so it's really serious and excellent music. And that's what I love about the Hamburg Ballet, because they don't just do the ballet pieces.
Exactly.
John is a very creative genius, and that's great.
Lots of nicely tailored ballets there with great music used, different music.
And you like to conduct opera too, right?
Of course, opera.
You worked here at the Deutsche Oper for quite a while.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was a singer kind of first. I was a choir singer in elementary school and all the way through college. And then I was a trombonist and a violist, and so I guess I was always kind of first and foremost. I became first and foremost a symphonic guy, and then secondarily, then I was introduced to the opera in high school, and our band director in Houston, Texas, took us to the opera. I mean, it was so amazing. Jack Green, he's going to come see me conduct the Fort Worth Symphony Orchestra next month.
Oh, great. That's wonderful. You're going back to Fort Worth. That's exciting.
Right,
Yeah, because you did opera in Fort Worth.
Right,
too. Yeah.
Così fan tutte,
Right, yeah.
4 or 5 years ago. Yeah, it was really fun, and so I'm excited to go back there. And but I remember being introduced to opera the first time. It was Otello, and we went to a dress rehearsal or something, and I was 16 years old, and I was kind of blown away, and I love the theater. I've always loved the theater, and I just decided somehow that I should be doing opera and symphonic work. I shouldn't just do one or the other, and so I spent a lot of time working in opera, which I think is excellent now, because when you're conducting concerti, you can assist and follow and accompany especially well, or I think you feel more confident with it because you're used to being pliable and being
responsive.
Adjusting to music, not having to be in charge of every moment. Lots of times in my career, you have to just collaborate and make it work for the other person. It can't always be every moment your vision.
No, yeah, that's
like same for you.
Yeah, and that's what Bernstein and I remember in some of his rehearsals. He would he would say, "Well, okay, show me how you would like to do it."
Oh, right.
Yeah, and he was working with Vienna Philharmonic, and these tremendous orchestras and Concertgebouw and everything, and so you have to trust the musicians too, and then
absolutely,
and that's what you do, and especially you work so well with singers. I know singers enjoy working with you, so.
I kind of love singers. It's always fun whenever this summer in Pacific Music Festival, it was they asked me to do part of a concert with a lot of operatic excerpts with their young singers, and when I went to the first piano rehearsal and I met I think there were 6 singers in the program, I thought to myself, and I told them, the singer's here. We get to have a party now. We get to talk. I mean, they're just always such big personalities.
Oh, they're yeah. As I say, there's always more drama backstage than on the stage.
Oh, that is true. That is true about opera.
Yeah, so, it's so funny.
Yeah.
So, why do you like to live in Berlin?
Oh.
I mean, this is Berlin Conversations.
Right. Berlin is just incredible. I mean, I don't think there's anyone that's a bigger fan of Berlin than Mr. Urquhart here. But no, Megan and I just love living here. It's a big city. It's fascinating culturally. It's reasonably well priced. So it's getting more expensive to live here, but it's still reasonable compared to all the other European capitals, I'd say. And you're right in the center of Europe. You can get on a plane
or a train or even a bus, and
right.
It's amazing.
That's true. That's right.
I mean, you can go to Copenhagen for the day. You can go to Vienna for the day.
You get on a plane to Copenhagen. You're there in 45 minutes.
Yeah. So.
I think I'm always, Megan is especially interested in cultures, and so am I, and languages, and so it's just. Every day is kind of, I'm sure you must feel the same. It's just every day you kind of learn something new and something different, and it always feels a little fresh. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So what's on the calendar for you? Yeah, you're going to Fort Worth, and then you're going to Hamburg.
It's nice for me because I was born in Houston, Texas, and so I'm going to the Fort Worth Symphony Orchestra for a week of subscription concerts, and
they have such an incredible infrastructure there.
Yeah, they have it.
Concert hall is amazing.
Right, the Bass Concert Hall is amazing facility and beautiful place. Mm-hmm.
So you get to wear your cowboy boots.
Everybody always asks me do you have cowboy boots, and I do not. It's so funny. Since I grew up in Texas, I never wanted cowboy boots, and everybody else, even in New York, they were like, "Oh well, they have the best," and everybody else was wearing them, except for me.
Yeah, I wore them for a while, and I'm paying for it with my lower back.
Oh yeah, there is a photo I remember of Christoph Eschenbach when he was music director at Houston Symphony Orchestra. There's a star in front of Jones Hall there, and they had a big ceremony of putting the star there on the ground with his name and his tenure there, I guess, in the years and such. And there's a photograph of him wearing a big, beautiful white Stetson cowboy hat, and I think he was wearing cowboy boots also.
Oh, that's so Christoph. Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah. He was. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's other stories I've told you before,
Yeah,
but there's a great rodeo parade story of him having to cross the rodeo parade on a Saturday morning when we did not expect that to happen there. And I was driving him into downtown Houston for Bruckner 6.
Oh, God.
And he had one of those tiny little blue Bruckner scores, and his baton in it is this big. And he had to cross the entire Capitol Avenue full of wagon trains and cowboys and horses.
God.
And it was
must
hilarious.
Be hilarious.
It was hilarious.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
well, thank you so much for having me.
yeah,
here.
it's really a pleasure.
Yeah.
And I wish you continued success. And I think it's wonderful that your career has taken off so much and that you've attracted so much attention. And it's exciting, isn't it, that you're actually doing something you love. Why do you love music so much?
Why do I don't? Music just takes over my mind every morning. You know, it's just I don't know. I think I'm not sure exactly why, but you know, it's fascinating to me. Music is, and great classical music is, and I remember the one thing that happened to me when I was very, very young is the 2 elementary school teachers told me at the end of 4th grade year, they said, "Garrett, we want to talk to you about something. Can you come over here and talk to us at the end of the class or something?" And said, "Next year we're going to do a Christmas musical, and we would like you to be the lead of the musical." And I said to myself, and I was quite shy then, actually. Yeah, I really was. And
I can't believe that.
Yeah, I was really shy, and these 2 teachers asked me, "So we want you to be the lead of this musical?" And I said, "Really, me?" And I said, "Well, why do you want me to be the lead of the musical?" Because I didn't think I had a particularly special voice or anything. And they said, "Oh, well, it's very simple. You love music the most." Mm-hmm. That's what they said.
So it was obvious from the
It was just
early,
obvious, yeah.
Did you come from a musical family?
I mean, a little bit. My father's an engineer, but he was a trumpet player and a tuba player in high school. And my mother is the musical one more. So she was a bass clarinet player in Minnesota growing up. And her father was an amateur violinist, and he played classical music almost every evening on the
radio.
Or LPs.
Those black things.
Yeah, that nobody. They're actually coming back.
Back,
right?
I know. Yeah.
Well, at least they're fun to look at.
Yeah, whatever.
And yeah, so. But I mean, it really comes down to it. I thank you so much for your big support and getting me over here to Europe and supporting my career and getting me launched, helping me to get launched.
Well, you're welcome, but you're the one that's fulfilled it, so that's what's important. Yeah.
Well, it's all important. But,
yeah. Well,
I think, I'm not sure it's so important, but it sure is nice.
And you're surrounded by a wonderful support group, and lovely people who are out there pushing you and helping you, and then you go and do these concerts, and you get invited back, and people want to work with you. So that's really exciting.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for taking this time to come over and have a little conversation.
It's great, exciting to be part of your podcast here.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Thanks, and all the best to Megan and the boys. Okay?
Thank you. Yeah, thanks so much, Craig. Appreciate it.
Okay. All is good. Thank you. All is gut. My Deutsch is so wunderbar.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks. Okay.